안녕하세요. 김원장의 인사이트입니다. 오늘은 아이브즈가 CNBC 방송에 출연하여 일론 머스크와 트럼프의 싸움은 조만간 화해하며 해결될 것이라고 주장했는데요. 둘 사이의 관계는 프레너미, 즉 친구끼리 가끔 심하게 싸우다가 화해하기도 하는 관계로 설명했습니다. 제 의견도 정확히 일치합니다. 최근 X에 올라온 글들에서 보면 트럼프가 일론 머스크의 공격에 상당히 자제하고 있다는 글들이 많습니다. 트럼프 성격에 일론 머스크에 대한 애정이 없다면 이보다 훨씬 큰 공격을 했을 것인데 자제하는 모습을 역력히 보이고 있다는 글들이 연이어 올라오고 있는데, 이건 저도 이미 지난 영상에서 말씀드렸던 내용입니다. 지금부터 방송 내용 중에 아이브즈의 발언을 요약 설명해 드리겠습니다. 중요한 인사이트가 많으니 제 설명이 끝난 후 본 영상을 끝까지 시청하시길 권합니다. 아이브즈가 최근 인터뷰에서 말한 테슬라에 대한 핵심 내용과 미래 전망을 쉽게 정리해 보겠습니다. 먼저 아이브즈는 테슬라의 목표 주가를 $500로 보고 있는데요. 지금보다 약 60% 더 오를 가능성이 있는 수치입니다. 최근에 트럼프 대통령과 테슬라 CEO 일론 머스크 사이에 말싸움이 있었지만 이런 정치적 갈등에도 불구하고 장기적으로 테슬라의 미래는 매우 밝다고 평가했습니다. 그리고 이 둘 사이의 관계는 프레넘이라고 표현했는데요. 이건 친구 같으면서도 경쟁자 같은 미묘한 관계를 뜻합니다. 하지만 결국엔 잘 해결될 것이라고 보고 있습니다. 특히 트럼프 대통령이 자율주행 관련 규제를 완화하는데 긍정적인 역할을 할 것으로 기대하고 있습니다. 또한 아이브즈는 테슬라가 단순히 자동차 회사가 아니라 로보택시와 옵티머스 로봇 같은 미래 기술에 집중하고 있다고 강조했습니다. 자율주행 기술과 로봇 사업이 테슬라 주가 상승의 핵심 동력이라는 점도 분명히 했습니다. 물론 경쟁사인 웨이모와 같은 회사들이 자율주행 분야에 앞서 있긴 하지만 여전히 테슬라가 최고 자리를 차지할 가능성이 크다고 봤습니다. 다만 지금 테슬라 주가가 너무 높게 평가된 면도 있어서 단기적으로는 주의가 필요하다는 말도 했습니다. 그리고 최근 트럼프 행정부가 추진 중인 전기차 세액 공제 폐지가 테슬라에 단기적으로는 악영향을 줄 수 있지만 테슬라의 기술력과 경쟁력으로 극복할 수 있을 것이라고 전망했습니다. 또한 규제 크레딧 판매 수입 감소와 에너지 사업 부분에도 영향을 주는 만큼 신중한 관찰이 필요한데요. 마지막으로 그는 테슬라의 주가의 단기 변동성은 불가피하지만 장기적으로는 혁신과 기술력의 성장을 이끌 것이라고 믿고 투자하는 것은 매우 중요하다고 강조했습니다. 특히 옵티머스 로봇과 자율주행의 테슬라 미래 가치를 견인하는 핵심 요소라는 점을 다시 한번 강조했습니다. 오늘은 아이브즈가 말한 테슬라 핵심 메시지를 쉽게 정리해 봤는데요. 변동성이 크긴 해도 기술 혁신과 미래 사업 모델에 대한 기대감은 여전히 크다는 점 꼭 기억해 주시기 바랍니다. 지금부터 영상을 함께 보시기 바랍니다. 영상을 끝까지 보시기를 권합니다.
Dan, I got to come over to you first. Your price target on Tesla, 500. That's about a 60% increase from where it sits right now. Do you still see that possibility with this war of words between the president and the Tesla CEO?
Yeah, look, Frank, I mean, obviously, friends that are fighting here, but I think they're going to be able to resolve this. I mean, my view, the autonomous, the regulatory future does not change because of this. And I think Trump will ultimately be positive for Musk, for the autonomous future. Look, it's a little frenemy situation that's going on here between Musk and Trump. I think it will be resolved. This does not change my medium, long-term view, remain very bullish, and I think way, way oversold Tesla yesterday.
All right, Sarah, coming over to you. Dan continues to be a bull when it comes to the stock and the EV maker, but a lot more at stake than just EVs when we're talking about Tesla. We're talking about robotics and autonomous driving. What's your take on this spat? And some of the things that Elon Musk honestly just said on social media, what do you think that means for the businesses outside just the EVs?
I think that is really where the concern is going to lie. The reality is that if you are valuing Tesla as a car company, you would be valuing it at kind of a 6 or 7 PE ratio, similar to a GM or a Toyota, not the sort of 160 that it is right now. And so that's a huge discount you have to take if you just think they're making cars. So the story that's been sold around robots, I find it hard to believe that they're anywhere near ready, not to mention that we've seen, what China's doing with robots, what other big tech companies are doing. It doesn't seem likely that Tesla is going to be the early winner in that space, nor do they have buyers lined up. And the same with the self-driving cars and the cyber taxis. Waymo is really far ahead, way far ahead there. And, it is not clear what this June rollout's going to look like. And so I think that if you don't believe that Tesla has some sort of magical regulatory capture, it's really, really, really hard to feel good about where the valuation stands now. And I think even the Wells Fargo, that sort of 100 and something low price target right now on the street is probably too high if it's trading on real multiples.
Yeah, right now we're looking at the current multiple. Tesla trading at about 132 times forward earnings, as you point out. Legacy automakers at a significantly lower valuation. GM at about 5 times, Ford at about 8.5 times right now. So Dan Ives, I want to come back over to you. One of the things that these two sides are fighting about is the removal of EV credits in the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. How big of a deal is that really for Tesla? It seems to be one of the critical kind of points of contention between these two gentlemen. When we're talking about the stock and the future of the EV business, how big is it?
Again, first, I just say to Sarah's point, I mean, haters always hate on Tesla, and then they've been wrong for the last decade, right? So calling Tesla a car company, it's like saying Steph Curry is just a basketball player. In terms of, that's sort of my view. Scheffler is just a golfer. And in terms of the EV tax credit, look, that continues to be something, we've already assumed that goes away. It's a hit, but ultimately, I mean, Tesla is hurt less than the traditional car companies, GM, Fords, and others. And I think it's all about autonomous and robotics. I think it's worth $1 trillion. And I think Waymo essentially will be at the kids' table when this is all said and done as they scale out over the coming years with Cybercab and Robotaxi.
So, number one, I think we're past a hater situation, Dan, in all fairness. This is beyond haters. This is some real issues potentially when it comes to regulation. I mean, that's why the stock ran up after the elections, that people thought it would be a friendlier regulatory environment. And just in all fairness, our Phil LeBeau did some great reporting on this, on all the different government agencies that touch some of the different businesses that Elon Musk is in. Not only does it impact self-driving, but also, the space program, you saw them fighting about that. If there's any change to regulation beyond EVs, if it's some of the other businesses and Elon Musk has to put his attention over there, doesn't that potentially hurt the stock? And isn't that going beyond just hating?
Yeah, and Frank, great point. And my point would be, it's all about autonomous. In a softer regulatory environment for autonomous, remember next week is when it launched in terms of Austin, the start of this. And I just believe under Trump, it's going to be a softer regulatory environment for autonomous, which is bullish for Tesla. And I do not believe this frenemy situation that's going on today, I think it gets resolved and they become friends again. And I just think that bromance is not ending because of this little spat.
All right, Sarah, coming back over to you. Obviously, Elon Musk has a lot of big-time investments in companies in the private market as well. As we're looking at those private company investments, we're showing the Forge Global moves, and again, that's directional. You shouldn't really look at the percentages, more directional. Does it change your view when we're talking about an XAI? Does it change your view when we're talking about a SpaceX, about the valuation and the possibilities?
I think that SpaceX is really at risk here as well. They already have brought that into their fight. And the thing to remember about, Elon likes to have fights. When you look at his track records with his companies and even people like Peter Thiel that he's really close with, he's also been really not close with at times. He can sort of have that rupture and repair, to use my therapy speak. Trump isn't so great at that. We don't usually see Trump have these huge knockdown dragouts and then go back to everything like it's normal unless he's doing a guest spot on WWE. And so I do think that this is going to stick with Trump, even if Musk gets over it. And SpaceX, that's a huge risk because even though their Starlink business is much bigger than sort of the business of, Dragon and taking people to and from the International Space Station, the reality is that if regulators say, hey, you can't do this, NASA doesn't want to work with you anymore, we're not renewing these contracts because there are other companies that can fulfill some of these contracts, that's not good for SpaceX. And I think a lot of the value that people are kind of giving Elon a pass on with X and the related X companies is because of their faith in the value of things like SpaceX and Tesla. Most of those private investors have exposure across the portfolio of Musk companies. And so if Tesla's going down, if SpaceX doesn't have regulatory support, and there's questions about its sort of long-term longevity with huge space programs, I think that is a huge risk for everything Elon touches.
So Sarah, we're going to give Dan the last word, but very quickly, what's your view on the stock? It's up 5% right now in the pre-market, bouncing back after a big drop yesterday, but what's your view on Tesla stock?
Tesla shareholders largely who've been buying this year are retail bag holders. They have diamond hands. I would not bet against them. You won't find me shorting Tesla. That being said, I hope that they get out at the top because these are not Main Street. These are not Wall Street. This is Main Street.
Dan, I see you making some faces. I'm going to ask you the same question. I know you're not changing your price target, but so I know how you feel about Tesla, but what about its competitors? What about the rest of the EV landscape? Are there other winners out of this spat? Do other EV companies benefit from this?
Well, first of all, I think Sarah brought up a great point. When you talk about WWE, I mean, it's possible Musk and Trump are not watching this from, the seats. They could be in the ring soon, right? So you don't know where this is all heading. I think when it comes to others that could benefit, I mean, obviously it's going to be, does BYD benefit in terms of some of these situations when you think about China? Do some of the traditional players, has Waymo benefit, in terms of Alphabet? But I just believe at the top of the mountain in terms of autonomous, I think it's Tesla's world, and everyone else will be paying rent over the coming years.